Welcome to Dimensional Shift, where we explore and actively deprogram ourselves, seek the truth of reality through expanding our perceptions, and focus on full remembrance of our true selves. As we begin to connect to our true selves, we will also see the truth of this illusory reality and the way it controls us through our manipulated perceptions. As soon as we fully remember our true selves, we will also see the enemy for what it is and how to rebalance the system by freeing ourselves and assisting others to do the same, creating a domino effect into the evolution of human consciousness. Welcome back to Dimensional Shift. I am still in Colorado. There may be traffic noise in the background. I apologize, and I will try and edit out as much of that as I can. First, I wanted to mention again that we have the subreddits r/dimensional shifters, where we'll be having podcast discussions on the pinned post, r/true self, where we talk about gnosis and enlightenment, and r/advanced souls for those who feel like they may be called to being a spiritual teacher or a leader in the upcoming movement. We also have Discord, which you can find on my website, dimensionalshifter.com, or on my Reddit profile, where we have weekly or twice weekly live discussions, either on the podcast topic or whatever feels relevant that week. So let's talk about the breakdown of spirit, which started about 10,000 BC from my own remembrances and kind of understanding and intuitive reflections. This idea of the fall of man, the original sin, all of that, would both be the inner archon, like we talked about last week, this parasite that feeds on us, because we have identified with it and we have forgotten who we are. So who are you? I asked this last week. Who are you? You are not the one who asked for the answer. You are not the answers it gives. You are the one who listens to the question. You are the one observing your experience when you are conscious. If we want to look a little bit deeper than that, there is a reason that you find yourself here and now in this particular change of eras, change of the ages, that you find yourself listening to this podcast, that you find yourself questioning things and seeking answers, that you find yourself asking, who am I? And while it's important to detach from our stories, any attachments we have to ourself and pieces of our personality or anything like that, understanding our essence can be both reassuring and help us remember who we are. So what is perfect? The essence behind the inner archon is perfect. The observer behind the thought, behind the emotion, behind the action is perfect. Our spirit, our essence, is made of love, joy, peace, compassion, and freedom. And if we want to take a look at how those elements are in us, it's easier to look at ourselves when we were children. What has led you here? So who were you as a child? What set you apart? What made you feel happy? What did you do that others thought was a little bit strange, maybe curious or amusing? We are often closest to our true essence as children before the world gets to form us into who they want us to be. You can go into meditation and ask Source what it is about you that has allowed you to come to this point that has been found to be closer to the truth than some others who are more identified with their stories. For me, I had this spontaneous kind of insight into what it is that has helped me get to this point. So for me, I have always struggled with being an idealist. Of course, that's according to the world. And the reason many of us are idealists is because we do remember our perfection in some way. We know the potential of the world. We know the capabilities of the human and the spirit. And to see things fall in this way is very upsetting and intense. I have a deep sensitivity to the suffering of others. I am seeking to help heal the world in the best way that I can. I've always had a willingness to confront the darkness within me. As a child, I was drawn to the darkness. My favorite movie as a 6-year-old was Edward Scissorhands, which, if you've seen it, it's a Tim Burton film. It's terribly dark, but that's the whole point, is it's dark, but Edward is sensitive, loving. So there's this weird paradox, but the darkness has to be looked at and transmuted from my perspective. I have also always had an affinity for questions that start with why. Why do we have to do it this way? Why can't I do it this way? All these why questions are very conceptual, and it has to do with understanding why for me. A lot of people who are truth seekers want to understand the how, and I have had to work on that some because the how is also very, very important. But for me, it's always been why. What's the driving force behind all of this? And I've also had an intense curiosity for non-worldly wisdom. I have been studying world religion since I was 10, seeking the truth, coming up empty until this year. So this has always been within me. And I'm sharing these characteristics of me so that you can get a sense of the kinds of things we're looking for when you were a child. Why are we not perfect now? Why do we sin? Why do we make mistakes? Why do we give in to desires and temptations? This is a tricky question, and it has to do with who we are using the word we about. Our essence has been unconscious and asleep. We're identified with the parasite who wants us to create hell on earth, which we have almost successfully done. It's not a matter of why are we not perfect, but how can I remember my perfection? And that comes down to disidentifying from the parasite, surrendering to your perfection rather than seeking perfection. When we stop attaching to our emotions and our thoughts and our stories, then we start to remember our perfection. And that to me is what this is all about. It's not about being perfect in the world, because in some sense that's not really how it works. It's not about acing every test you take or always getting the promotion or the job or getting all the raises. It's not about worldly perfection. The essence, again, is love, joy, peace, compassion, and freedom. That is the perfection that we are seeking, or that we are trying to remember. If we make conscious, intuitive choices that align with our perfection, the parasite no longer has control over you. And eventually it can no longer, quote, vibe with you, and it has to leave. When I was writing this out, I put on here, advised by my own advice. So this is the approach that I'm going to be taking the next foreseeable future to see if I can embody this perfection of love, joy, peace, compassion, and freedom enough that this parasite will have no choice but to detach from me. Eventually, it will happen, and I foresee that as being when the remembrance of the true self will come in. Could be wrong, it's just in what I'm going with right now. There is a caveat on this. You cannot let the parasite think that it's the one that's perfect. You cannot think, I am perfect, because the parasite uses thought. So instead, be still and know your perfection. If you found this episode helpful or insightful, please share it with a friend and leave a review or comment. Make sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. I host twice weekly open discussions on the podcast topic on our Discord server. If you'd like to join, head to dimensionalshifter.com/Discord. If you're on Reddit, come join the subreddit r/dimensionalshifters or send me a DM. My username is dimensionalshifter. Keep deprogramming, keep connecting, keep listening to your intuition. This is it. This is what we've been searching for our whole lives. Connection to our true selves.